What came to your mind when I said Vietnam War? Maybe something like this. Well, today I'm gonna try to show you what happened in this war. It is April 13, 1975. Vietcong forces and the North Vietnamese army march and take Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, marking the end of a war of more than 30 years. But how we ended here? This history starts on 1817, when the French arrived on the shores of Southeast Asia, creating French Indochina as a colony in Asia. During the next decades, no major events occurred. In 1914, France is defeated at the hands of Nazi Germany. After this, the forces of the Japanese Empire took control of all the French colonies in Asia. Thanks to this, the Vietnamese people realized that the European forces were not invincible. After this, a little resistance started on the occupied Indochina, a resistance that was maintained by the American army. It is September 2, 1945. Germany was defeated and annihilated, and after two nuclear detonations and a threat of invasion by the Red Army, Japan signs its unconditional surrender, marking the end of World War II, and an end to the Japanese occupation in Indochina. It's 1946, and the French once again took control of the Asian colony. But they did not count on the fact that the resistance led by Ho Chi Minh will be charged with waging a 10-year war. Ho Chi Minh needed help for this war of independence against France, but America denied and began to support France economically and militarily. Ho Chi Minh, with no other options, went to ask for support from the Soviet Union, obtaining weapons and equipment to lead this war. Now it is 1954. France is defeated and sees no other way out, therefore this grants independence to Indochina, forming Cambodia, Laos, and dividing Vietnam in two. North Vietnam will be for the communist, while South Vietnam will be for the capitalist. Given this separation, it was made clear that a referendum will be held in 1955 to see if the two Vietnamese were reunified, but fearing a defeat, the South Vietnamese leaders together with the CIA carried out a coup to avoid the vote. After that, the North Vietnamese army declared the war between North and South. The war was lost from the beginning for the South Vietnamese forces, since the army of the North had more equipment with a higher quality and a personnel with more and better preparation for combat. Another factor against it was South Vietnam was plagued by communists. An example of this is the Viet Cong, a guerrilla that was made up mainly of farmers who received supplies from North Vietnam, the Soviet Union, and China. Fearing a domino effect and the defeat of South Vietnam, the Americans began to finance South Vietnam economically and militarily. After a small self-attack, the United States entered the war in support of South Vietnam in 1964. At first, the American troops believed that the war would be a quick victory, but they did not count on the guerrilla tactics, hideouts, and traps of the Viet Cong, causing great paranoia among the American troops. Something that we must clarify, in this war the United States were not the good ones. The American troops committed rapes, murders, execution, and destructions in villages everywhere, apart from using chemical weapons with great repercussion for human health. Many of these acts were captured by the television and press cameras that were in the area. This started a great movement of the population against the government and the war in Vietnam. The hippie movement had entered. They created massive demonstrations to stop the participation of the United States in this, and the great increase in American casualties made the president dictate a general withdrawal of Vietnam in 1917, completely abandoning South Vietnam in 1972. By this, Australia and South Korea would continue to send troops and support to South Vietnam from 1972 to 1974. But this would not help much since the North Vietnamese army would initiate offensives directly, making it clear that the war was lost for South Vietnam. Now we go back to the beginning. It is April 13, 1975. North Vietnamese troops take Saigon, causing total defeat for South Vietnam, and a new era for a unified Vietnam begins. After the war, there were more than 3 million civilian casualties, approximately 900,000 casualties by the Viet Cong and its allies, an approximate of 3,100 casualties by South Vietnam and its allies, and an uncountable number of wounded and secondary effects in the next generations because of the North American chemical weapons. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about the Vietnam War, I recommend you these channels. There are two in English and two in Spanish. Good luck.